Your morning media availability with Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Cobalt Tools Chevrolet, currently third in points with 4 wins so far this season. Jimmie, talk a little bit about coming into Dover this weekend.
Yeah, excited to be here. It's obviously a great racetrack for the 48 team, and good time in the year for us to come to a strong track, and we'll just kind of see what happens. I know it's a good track for the 18, and historically Matt's been strong here. When I think back to some of the Roush days years ago, or not too far back, but I think with how he's been running this year, he's going to be tough to beat, and we'll just get out there and race hard and get every point we can.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions for Jimmie. Please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll start right up here up front with Claire, then go back to Jeff and Bob.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Out on the grid after the race last week, you said, yeah, I left a little bit on the table, or we were talking through the races that you did, and said, but others did too. It just didn't seem like you to be saying that, like normally the 48, and you don't do that. Is there anything really sort of unusual about how things are going right now, or do you feel that it's just par for the course and you have to adapt to the races that aren't so good?
Yeah, I think that's really the requirement for a cup driver is you have to be able to adapt to situations. And at the end of the race, we had that inside lane on 2 occasions, and that's where our opportunity slipped away. It's got to be Matt. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I teased him on my way in, and he's getting me back. But we had a great pit stop and came out and thought we were going to be the leader, in the 15 and the 9 stayed out. So that put us in 3rd position on the inside. And on that particular start, Matt started 4th, and with that outside lane was able to get by the 9 right away, and then by the 15 and take control of the race at that point. And I really feel like if we would have had a slow stop and came out 4th, we would have been in that position ourselves, or if those 2 hadn't pitted. So that was really the opportunity in the race for us to take control, and not by our own circumstances or design, it just didn't happen. And then the next restart, we were on the inside again and rallied our way back to, 4th, I guess it was. So, each one of those restarts, I'd kind of lose a little ground and then have to work my way through, and then that's where opportunity missed us.
Okay, we'll take our next question. Next question from Jeff, Bob, and then come up to Lee.
Jeff Clark from USA Today. Jimmie, I'm just wondering how you view the standings at this point. Have you looked at it, and do you think it's a 3-man race at this point, as a lot of people are saying?
I mean, it's easy to look at it that way, but I'm not putting my guard down. We still have Talladega. And a lot of these tracks can take out multiple cars, so you have that risk here if something happens. You usually take a car or 2 with you. I don't know. I'm certainly looking forward, and there's only 2 guys that I'm paying attention to right now. So in that mindset, sure, you can call it a 3-man race, but it's still way too early to count many out yet.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Bob.
Bob Hockers, Sporting News. I'm curious, do you have any less of a mental hurdle coming in here knowing the restart rules have changed, and do you have any feel of what happened here in June maybe played a role in NASCAR changing the rules?
Oh yeah, it definitely had a role in that. I think there's 3 or 4 restarts I was a part of that helped shape the rule that we have now, and I think it's a good fix. I think it's a good compromise between protecting second on a lot of these mile-and-a-halfs where we have an apron that drivers can shoot down onto and make a pass. I think it's protecting second place from that situation. At other racetracks, and like what happened to me here, where the leader doesn't go, it takes that away from the leader, and so I think it's good. I think it's a good compromise for what the drivers on the front row have to manage, and glad that it's in place. I hate that it took so long, but I think it's a good change.
Okay, we'll come up front for the next 2 questions. Lee, then Jim.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. It's one thing for the 5-time champion to have, 1 car ahead of him in the point standings in the chase, but are you concerned that there's 2 Joe Gibbs Racing cars ahead of you, and what do you think has turned the tide for that organization? I mean, it's them and you, and then there's everybody else. What is it about Joe Gibbs Racing right now?
Well, we've known for years and years and years that they're a strong organization. when you peak is very important in our season, and I think that the 20 and the 18 are really coming to the top of their game right now at this point of the year, which is good for them. Arguably, and they're still racing left, so I hope this is wrong, but so far, our peak was probably about the third mark of the year, 3rd to 3/8 mark of the year. I feel like we're trending back up with our 2 top 5s and heading the right direction. But time will tell, how high we rise and where we get to. But, they've always had good equipment. They've always had fast cars. And I really feel like Matt, in the relationship that he and his crew chief have and what they've been able to bring to the table has helped elevate them to, Joe Gibbs to the next level. The experience that Matt brings in, the smarts, the knowledge, the consistent driving, that's a nice kind of rock within that organization that without a doubt has helped them.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Jim. Go ahead.
Jim Noble, ESPN and Sirius, kind of along the same lines, but specifically for Kyle. He's gotten off to terrible chase starts. He won a lot of races in the regular season, but hasn't put together a chase. Now that he's gotten off to this type of start, how formidable a contender do you think he will be for the long haul in the chase?
He has the ability. We've all seen it week in and week out. We'll see if he can keep it together over the course of 10 weeks. We all have something out there that media, fans, competitors hold against you, and make you think about from time to time. And they always bring up a question. And his question is, can you hold it together for 10 weeks? And we'll see. I believe that he has the ability to do it. He's shown at different points in time. He wins in anything and everything he drives on all types of tracks. So, it's in there. It's just finding it and finding it at the right time amongst all the pressure that is put on a team and driver for a chase. But he's definitely on his game this year.
Any other questions for Jimmy? Final questions.
Do you have a slogan? He's got, just do this.
Let's do this. Okay, we got another follow-up from Lee, and then we'll get
Six-pack.
Jeff in the back. Hang on just a second, Lee. We'll get a mic to you. Go ahead.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. You've been very fortunate to be drama-free in your career, but from the outside watching people, like a Boyer or perhaps, Jeff that got thrust in the chase at the last minute, stupid stuff like that. How does it affect the mentality of the team? I mean, can that kind of stuff wear you down as opposed to just being able to stay even keel throughout the entire championship run?
Yeah, I think Gordon's situation is helpful. I mean, there's a lot of positive behind that. I don't see that wearing on him or his team. They feel like they have a second shot in some ways at their opportunity to win a championship. I feel like they on their own merit earned their way in to win the championship, and circumstances kind of changed that. So they're in the right spot mentally. For Clint, that whole situation is really tough, and we all know him well and know how positive of a person he is, and the charisma he has, and that outward, excitement he has. To carry around, the load and burden of what's gone on, I don't know for sure, but I'd have to imagine it's tough on him. I mean, it's got to take a toll to some degree and test him and his team, more than I'm going through in the chase. I'm just focused on going out and running well, and they've got an extra force out there weighing on him. So, without a doubt, I believe it's weighing on him. We'll see how far he can fight back, but it's only going to make him stronger. And I've lived through it under my own circumstances, with and Chad being thrown out of the 500 that year, and how we came back and were able to win races and win the championship and be a stronger team as a result. If you look in the immediate, you look at the current point in time, it's tough, it's hard on you. But you fast forward 6 months to a year from now, Clint Boyer and his team are stronger, for sure.
Final question, Jeff.
Jimmy, you mentioned a couple questions ago that every driver has a question that fans bring up, and it's kind of like a lingering question. What's yours? What do people bring up to you?
For me, it's the 2-year dry spell, like it's some eternity since I haven't won a championship. So that's the question that I seem to get.